Hey, this is Craig. We're at Goods and Guitars here in Odessa, Texas. This is episode 4. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. We're going to be doing this today. We're going to be inlaying the fret markers for the fingerboard. And what I did with this was I used cutoffs from the side material. So this is zircote inlaid into an ebony board. I'll talk about it in the video. I still need to lay out how I'm going to lay his name in here on the 12th fret, and then you'll notice that we've got everything cut and it's been tapered. That's episode 5. So, and then back here in the back you can see the neck and the jig. That's maybe 5 or 6. I may run them both together, but anyway, let's get going. Okay, so I figured out the first one's a 1/2 inch, 7/16, 3/8, 5/16. Then we're going to inlay his name here, and then a 1/4 inch, 3/16, and then we're done. So I got the first one cut to width and length, but the rest of these I'm gonna have to cut by hand, because trying to cut them that thin on the bandsaw, there just ain't a lot to hold on to. So we're gonna do that. The next one is going to be a pencil, and not the white one. I need a pencil with a good tip, sharp. All right, so 7/16. Let's Alright, so we'll clamp this down, and then another thing I do is get my 7/16 mark right there, and then I will take score, just so we can alright, and the next one is 3/8. Now we got to make them trapezoids. I don't know if I want to use a chisel or if I want to use the saw. And then I got to figure out how much of an angle and all of that I'm going to put on them. So I'm going to do that, and when I get it figured out, I'll come back and let you know. So if I take this and clamp it and center the clamp, then I figured out that I can take the chisel, go on the corner, and then touch the clamp and whack it with a chisel, and I end up with that. So that's how we're going to do those. That should go relatively quickly. And then we'll get ready to inlay them. So, here we go. Alright. We'll get ready to lay these out. There's 2 ways we can do it. First one is put a little drop of hot glue, super glue, scribe around them with a scalpel and chisel it out, or do the scribe around them with it and then use a Dremel tool with a really small bit. I don't know exactly which way I'm going to go at this point. I just know I got to do it, so I'll figure it out, and once I know, I'll come back. 3, 2, 1. All right, so what we're going to do at this point is number one, I'm going to mark these out that way I don't put it in the wrong spot. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. Double check that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. I've taken the trapezoid and I've inlaid, put a center line on it. And then I got a center line on the fretboard. And we're going to get that lined up both directions. And then I'm going to make a little mark right here. Just so after I put the little dab of glue on there to hold it, it doesn't move on me. So I'm going to take just a dot of glue and then a little bit of accelerator. And then I'm going to set this on here, get it centered, everything where I want it. And I'm just going to hold it. And then once it bonds, I'll use a razor knife to cut around there to get my scribe line. And then I'm going to chisel it out, clean it up, make it look good. And then we'll go from there. So now we need an X-Acto knife, which I always seem to misplace, so I have to find it. And you would think I would have been better prepared for this, but I'm not. So here we go. Alright, so we're gonna now these first couple of scribes, you want to go light so you can control it, and then you can lay the pressure on after you've got a knife wall in there to guide it. I'll cut a little off. Alright, so now I got my knife wall. And you want to very carefully pop this back off. Alright, so now I can see what I'm doing here. A weird glare going on from my window. It's kind of making this hard to see. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a chisel and I'm going to slowly start working some of this material out of here. Sharp tools are important. There's a lot of videos out there on how to sharpen. But right now I'm going real easy. I don't want to slip. I don't want to gouge anything out that I don't want out. I need to get some more light on the subject. Okay, so after getting some light set up and a couple of interruptions, we're back. I've got it started, and so now what I'm doing is I'm going in with a fresh blade, and I'm just slightly scoring this knife wall to kind of keep everything where I want it to be. Doing ebony like this is forgiving because there are some ways that you can cover up your mistakes if you make one, but basically you just ever so gently just work this out until you get it the depth that you want it to be, which is gonna be the depth of the inlay, because I want to have enough inlay in there that way I can radius the fretboard and not sand through. This board was pre-radius, so it should be pretty damn close to begin with, so I shouldn't have to worry too much about sanding through the inlay when I do the rest of it. We talked about earlier, we could have done this with a Dremel tool and hogged it out with a Dremel, and it probably would have been faster. And I may not do all of these with a chisel. I may do the smaller ones with the Dremel, because getting a chisel in some of these smaller spaces won't be very easy. And then you can clean it up with an X-Acto knife. But you just keep working it, and once you get it close, you kind of have to go in and scribe a little bit and make sure. See, that's a very small amount right there, like a 16th or 32nd, not a 16th. But you know, this is something that you normally don't get on a, well, at least most of the Bajos that I've seen, they don't have any kind of inlay in the neck. If they do, they're just dots. And I'm not saying all, I'm just saying the ones that I've seen. And living in West Texas, most of the ones that I see are coming out of Mexico. And you know, I saw one at a local store the other day, and it was, they wanted $2,000, and it didn't have side markers, it didn't have any inlay, it was just a standard plain Jane Bajo, and it didn't even look like the finish had been wet sanded or anything. It just, you know, they just shot it. And so what I try to do with mine is, if you're going to spend $1,800 to $3,000 depending on the instrument, I feel you should get something that looks and sounds like it's worth that much. So now, if you've never worked with chisels much, if you turn it bevel up, it's going to want to dig in. If you turn it bevel down, it's going to want to go up. And so you can go bevel down and kind of level the bottom out. And then if you want to remove a lot of material, you can flip it around and go bevel down, and it'll start pushing in and taking out more material. And what I'm doing now is that knife wall that I cut in with the razor knife, I'm just making it a little deeper with the chisel. And then work those pieces out. Alright, so I'm going to keep working on this, and when I get done, we'll come back and show you where we're at. We've got it cut and we got it glued in. What I'm going to do now is I've got some 80 grit paper on a 12-inch radius block, and all I'm going to do is just work it down and get it with the rest of the board. And then this dust I want to keep because it's going to go down and fill in some of these voids. And I'll show you what we're going to do with that. Now this board is going to get sanded multiple more times. So this is some number 10 super glue. And I'm going to flood the area around the inlay, and I'm going to let that dry. Hit it with a little bit of accelerator. And this excess that's out here on the sides, we're going to get rid of that. And then we'll hit it again. And I can tell this board, it's going to take quite a bit of sanding. It's got some rough spots in it. And some of it is going to be done before I put it on. Some of it will be done after it's glued onto the neck itself. But what we're trying to do right now is just, see, it's got some low spots right there on each side of the inlay. And so we'll just keep going. Now I'm going to take a razor blade. I'm going to go across the grain on the inlay. And get any eye spots. Take some more. What I'm doing is I'm taking that ebony dust, putting it right there, and then we will
bit right through there. Through there. And put some on top. Basically, I'm making a wood filler out of the materials I'm inlaying into, and it covers up a lot because ebony is real brittle, and it's very hard to get it to cut out super clean. So now we need to clean that up real quick to show you the end result. I can see one spot where we need to build it up again. Alright, so that is sanded to 220, and then we put a little bit of finishing oil on it. So that's the end result. You can tell that there's going to be some pores we have to fill in that inlay, which we'll do that with super glue. But that's the process. I'm going to do the rest of them, and then when we get the board done, we'll come back.